Final Fantasy Timeline Theory Part 5 A New Dawn. In all chaos there is a cosmos. In all disorder a sacred order. Carl Jung. The World of Final Fantasy. In this timeline I will be covering Final Fantasy 13, Final Fantasy 15, and Final Fantasy 8. Etro of the Chaos. Final Fantasy 13. On this now barren planet, Yami and Yama create a new rift to connect this world back to the void. The souls of the dead shall enter Valhalla. They also create deity Minwin in their likeness. They retreat to the crystal world as another task awaits them. Minwin has both of their powers of light and darkness. She gives her son, Benevizil, the power of light. However, he wishes to rule over the mortal world and kills his mother. She is sent to Valhalla. She curses the living world. All that will be born to die. Benevizil creates Pulse, Lindsay, and Etro to find a way to Valhalla to destroy his mother for good and to prevent his own death. He goes into a long sleep only to be awoken when the gate to the unseen realm is found. New Eidolons are created by Lindsay and Pulse by fragmenting the world crystal. They are machines called fal'Cie, which are powered by the crystal and are given tasks to maintain and develop the world of Grand Pulse, the planet, and Cocoon, which was once the Red Moon. Etro creates the first human by destroying her body and uses her blood. After partial death, she was sent to Valhalla and becomes the new goddess of death after Minwin perishes in the chaos seeping into Valhalla, truly disappearing into the unseen world or the void. Etro is tasked with keeping the living and dead worlds in balance. Should she fail, the planet will meet the same fate as Gaia and Terra before them. She uses the chaos to make more humans and give them a heart, a fragment of chaos. When they die, the heart and the soul return to her, and the soul is reborn. One girl was chosen to inherit the eyes of Etro, which gave her the powers to see the future, but was forbidden to change it. The girl, the first human, was named Mule, which is a reincarnation of Yami. She chooses to store her visions in a device known as the Oracle Drive, a device created by the fal'Cie with knowledge from Spira and Owen. In time, she chooses to store them in her guardian, Caius. Yule and Caius are continually reincarnated. To progress the development of the world, the fal'Cie give tasks to certain humans called a focus. And when that focus is fulfilled, they turn into crystal, and if not, they turn into fiends called Sith. The l'Cie are able to call the powers of the Eidolons, summons that rest inside them, using crystals called Eidoliths. Even when fiends are defeated, they spawn crystals and can be called on during battle. Lindsay and Pulse retreat to Valhalla in search of Etro with 4 fragments of crystals. Gate to Etro. Final Fantasy Type O. Here in the world of Orience, there are 4 great nations created, each having their own crystal. Rubrim, led by Chancellor Civil, Concordia, led by Queen Andoria, Lorikhan, led by Gilgamesh, and Milites, led by Marshal Cid. Other high-ranking officials are l'Cie, who are chosen by the crystal to inherit special powers and are given tasks. They know the crystal's will. When their task is complete, or they are no longer useful, the l'Cie are crystallized, which entraps their souls. Milites invades the other nations using Magitech, technology fueled by a Milites crystal. Invading Rubrum, they encounter Class 0. Class 0 is 12 warriors whose magic is not from the bird crystal, but rather Phantomia, which is the souls of the fallen. The 12 and 2 others are tasked with protecting Rubrum's capital, Academia, its crystal, and ultimately will save the world from Tempest Finis, or the apocalypse. To prevent ruin, the world crystal, Rusus with Dark, will choose a savior, Agito, to bring balance by opening the gateway to Etro. Marshal Cid seeks to free Orience from the crystal's rule so they can have a future in which they decide their own fate. A New Dawn. Cid's goal is accomplished through much sacrifice, but 2 of the 14 lead the world to a brighter future through the Dark Ages until the world is rebuilt without the aid of crystals. This becomes Valhalla, where Etro's throne now resides. However, with the gate open, chaos slowly sleeps into Valhalla over time. Back in the mortal realm, war breaks out between Cocoon and Pulse, in which Pulse fal'Cie Anima and his armies invade Cocoon due to them stealing resources and the people to populate the paradise that is Cocoon. In reality, Cocoon fal'Cie wanted their people to perish so Etro's gate would be revealed to the visible world, and Len'Cie would return to reform the world. Two Pulse women were given the task to turn into Ragnarok to destroy Cocoon, but Etro crystallized them before their task could be carried out. Over time, the population of Pulse becomes Seed. Now of Cocoon fal'Cie, Bartandalis chooses Cocoon citizens to finish the job: Lightning, Saj, Snow, Hope, Vanille, and Fang. They destroy the main fal'Cie orphan and prevent the collision of Cocoon and Pulse. Through a series of events, Lightning ends up in Valhalla. People leave Cocoon for Pulse and make new settlements, and a paradox is created in which there is a big time jump. Changes in the predicted future causes Yule and Caius to die and be reborn again and again. Caius seeks to stop this cycle. 1,000-year gap, Nova Chrysalia, which is a merge of Grand Pulse and Valhalla, is created. The world is dying due to chaos invading the world from the unseen realm. Lightning and friends are able to sever Bonavezli's hold on the souls of humanity. The souls then reunite and defeat Bonavezl. In the aftermath, Caius and Yule choose to remain in the unseen realm and protect the balance between the worlds since Etro is no more. The Eidolons depart for the unseen realm. Lightning, her allies, and the souls of humanity travel to a new world where they can decide their own fate. This world is now called Earth, and it is many millennia into the future of its ancestor planets Eos of World B and Gaia of World A. She leaves it in the hands of others to bring hope and peace to this new world, and finally, she rests. The King and the Oracle, Final Fantasy XV. Eos was created as a planet in the Rift from the pure light of Hadeling. Like those before, celestial beings are now called Astros, who shape this world. Ifrit, Titan, Leviathan, Shiva, Ramu, and Bahamut create humans in their image. Inspired by Xanarkand to avoid darkness seeping into the world and corrupting souls, Eos was placed in a dream world in the light crystal with blocked connection to the rift. The crystal realm is where the Astros reside and where the souls of the departed wait before being channeled to the unseen realm, where other deities await to rebirth their souls into this dream world. However, chaos and its darkness was introduced through a diverted meteor of Genovas, possibly mistakenly summoned by the Astros, but was caught by the Astral Titan. This attracted Omega, who was drawn to Shiryu and Chaos. Knowledge of World A from Final Fantasy 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, and 10 seeps into Eos, and eventually Magitech and weapons of old will be repurposed anew, and they are once again connected to the Rift. At first, humans were powerless, and Siva mocked how fleeting their existence is. While Ifrit saw an admirable strong sense of will, he granted them fire, and they prospered. Soon they created an advanced technological civilization ruled by Ifrit Solheim. However, some humans betrayed him, igniting the war of the Astros and Ifrit's unquenchable desire to see the world in the flames of ruin. During this time, a plague turned many into monsters called demons. A parasite much like Genova and New Yevon, it mutates fauna and humans into beings that resemble seed. The Star Scourge brings longer nights as a cloud of photosynthetic organisms absorb light, and Afflicted release miasma once defeated. To combat this, a human was blessed with the power to combat the Scourge. Arden Lucius Kylan killed thousands by absorbing the demon's miasma into himself. Unfortunately, as a result, he became an immortal embodiment of the Star Scourge. Denied death, demonized, and written out of history, Arden was defeated and slept for 2,000 years in the void. His brother Somnus founds the kingdom of Lucius to combat the Scourge once Arden awakens. He is given the Ring of Luci, told to protect the crystal and await for the chosen king. A traveler of the Rift, Gilgamesh, serves as a shield of the founder king. The ring slowly drains the life of the kings. The Ring of Lushai was forged by the Astrals with the help of Yami and Yama, who infused it with the powers of Holy, Death, and Alterna. Using it, wielders can bond their souls in a special realm within the ring and pass on their abilities for generations to come. Another person tasked with halting and ending the Star Scourge is the Oracle. Bahamut chooses a human woman of the Tenebrae family to become an Oracle. At first, the Oracle communes with the Astrals so their will can be known. She is given a trident that can summon the Astrals and a collection of blades the king can wield. After Arden's defeat and the death of the Oracle Arya Miris Foray, a new Oracle becomes a healer who purges the demons from the afflicted person, using healing light, which thus halts the Star Scourge. However, the healing power drains the Oracle's life. Together, the King and the Oracle can protect the people from the inevitable return of the darkness. Arden waits to enact his revenge on the descendants of his brother, the Lucis Kylan family. The Astrals fall into a deep slumber. Bahamut remains awake and holds vigil until the chosen king ascends to complete the revelation of Bahamut, end of the Star Scourge. Many generations later, the world is divided into 4 major countries. The nation of Niflheim seeks to reunite the world under one rule and creates the ancient civilization of Solheim. Starting a military campaign, Arden is found on Angel Guard and released from his imprisonment. With the help from Arden, head Magitech researcher Vastil improves his Magitech army as they ready to attack Lucis. Exposure to the chaos energy implanted the stolen memories of other worlds into Arden's and Vastil's heads. Vastil creates a demon weapon whose design is much like Diamond Weapon of Gaia from Final Fantasy VII, and wants to use demons as a military force like Matthias from Final Fantasy II. Arden is able to change his appearance at will, much like Genova, to play mind tricks and control demons and darkness like many before him. In the end, Noctis becomes the chosen king. While embarking on a journey with his friends to bond his souls with his ancestors, current Oracle Luna Freya sacrifices herself to awaken the Astros so Noctis can acquire their aid. Niflheim is convinced that slaying the Astros will give them ultimate power. With the strength of his ancestors and the light of the crystal, Noctis sacrifices himself to defeat Arden and ends the 10-year-long night. However, Astral Bahamut sought to destroy Eos using his Terraflare ability, but was defeated by Noctis, Luna, Arden, and the other Astrals. Dawn returned to the sleeping world, however the Big Bang from the clash of light and darkness rebirthed it into World B, the Rift. The darkness or chaos energy harbored inside Arden was channeled to the true moon of World A, where Genova and Suma reside. Still unable to destroy the planets of World A, she sets her sights on Gaia yet again, while both worlds would eventually merge and become Earth. Great Sorceress of Time, Final Fantasy VIII. Born of the Void by Zodiark, the god Hain was gifted with the magic of Kefka to battle the fiends of the world. Growing tired, he created humans to do his work for him, but left them little instruction before going into a long sleep, during which the events of Final Fantasy X and Final Fantasy VII occur. Once awakened, he found himself in a completely different world devoid of magic, no materia, little fiends, and overpopulated with humans. He sought to destroy them by targeting their children. In the end, he gives most of his power to one human woman to create the first sorceress, and none of his power to make his body half, while he returns to the void and is summoned to the planet R, in which the events of Final Fantasy III occur. The humans fight over the body half, thinking it has all the power, while the sorceress goes into hiding. The Zelbaga tribe of Red 13's time is victorious in finding this body half, although they discover the power is not there. This is around the time of 0507 of the Final Fantasy time. Sorceresses find a companion and make him her knight, and this is called the Sorceress's Night. Humans figure out the power lies in the other half and search for the sorceresses through the centuries while she passes on her power from generation to generation. Each sorceress has a knight to protect her. At some point, the sorceress makes her presence known by displaying her power. The civilization of the Kentra arises in the southern continent. They worship the Sorceress as the rebirth of the Ketra, humans who can use magic naturally. They travel around using gardens. Two empires are created. Dalit, which is a new Wutai, and Esther, which is a new Midgar. Esther becomes a scientifically advanced society, while Dalit becomes a military power. 4,000 years later, the first lunar cry strikes down and destroys the center of Kentra society. Dalit divides into Galbadia and Timber as a result of the lunar cry happening many times throughout the centuries. The lunar cry is when monsters ascend to the planet from the true moon when they are aligned just right. They travel through the crystal pillar created by Seymour. Genova created the lunar cry as the last attempt to destroy Gaia. In a life tree kind of way, when the fiends died on Gaia, they were reborn on the moon, and eventually a saturation point would be reached. A beam of red light would send them down through the pillar. The lunar cry happens periodically and is transient as fiends of the different worlds are parasitized and gathered over time. Eventually, the crystal pillar is lost and remains buried in the Kentra civilization. Genova and Seymour collect more fiends again, gathering fiends from other worlds, and the influx of demons from Eos aided in this process. Demons from Final Fantasy II and Final Fantasy XV, the Seath of Final Fantasy XIII, and the mutated Ketra from Final Fantasy VII. In the time of Sorceress Adil, she rules over Esther and orders troops to look for her next successor. They attempt to capture a young girl alone who can telepathically communicate with others' consciousness and have them inhabit another's at a different point in time. They fail to capture her and she ends up in an orphanage. Demons of the True Moon. Dr. Odin studies guardian forces, spirits of summons from the rift. He is able to junction them or connect their powers to the human brain so they can use magic again without the need for materia, a mind over matter situation. The magic is obtained by drawing it or absorbing it from nature. However, the more the person uses the magic of chaos, the more memory loss they can suffer due to Sumeriu's presence. Other scientists and engineers settle down elsewhere and make Fisherman's Horizon. Adele starts a war between Esther and Galbadia in a quest for world domination. Timber gets drawn in. She unearths the crystal pillar and orders the construction of the lunatic Pandora to induce another lunar cry from Esther. Inside it resides the magic meteor Holy and Ultima and the crystal pillar that connects the moon to the planet. Dr. Odin finds old records of research conducted by Hojo and Deepground of Final Fantasy VII on synaptic net dive, the act of imprinting one's mind into a network and subsequently creating a machine or person. Using this technology, he creates a machine alone capable of using the real alone's powers. A space station is constructed as well to monitor the lunar cry. Adele was sealed in a container by Laguna and rebels, sent to space, and is now monitored from the space station. The container created a radio interference that made the use of wireless communication obsolete. Due to time compression created by another sorceress, Ultimacia's power is passed on to Edea of the orphanage. She establishes the gardens by building them on top of ancient Kentra structures. Lam, which was once Midgar, Trabia, which was once a forgotten city, and Galbadia, which was once North Coral. And creates Seed with her husband Sid to train the orphans to defeat Ultimacia in the future. Edea will pass her sorceress power to Rinoa, and Squall will become her knight. Ultimacia of another time used Machine alone to control Edea's mind, but she is defeated by Squall and friends, ending the time compression. In time, other planets will come and go until the only world left will be Earth, that joins with a new solar system. Out there in the vastness of space are the remains of the planets of World A and B. Remnants of their stories find their way into the mythologies of Earth, and in some ways, Earth into theirs. What is time anyways? Only time can tell. Now I will go into my final thoughts as I wrap up this series of timeline theories. In part 5, going with the character timelines I'm establishing, starting with Seymour and Minerva. They had Yama and Yami, and in this timeline, they are the creators of the god Minwin of Final Fantasy XIII, in which she will have a son who will create the other gods of Final Fantasy XIII. The first human that was created in this world was Yule, and she was created in the likeness of Yami. Last but not least, we have the diagram displaying the flow from Final Fantasy X to Final Fantasy VIII. Starting with Final Fantasy X on Spear, we are introduced to the character Shinra, who seeds the idea of siphoning energy from the life force of a planet, in which this is carried directly over into Final Fantasy VII. From Final Fantasy VII, we have, technically from Final Fantasy VII and from Final Fantasy X, we have the characters of Seymour and Jenova, or Jenova who's really Unalesca, carry over to becoming major forces in the events that will lead into Final Fantasy VIII. Also from Final Fantasy VII, we have this spillover into Final Fantasy XV due to Jenova and her meteors carrying parasites that can mutate humans into fiends, and also the bleeding of knowledge of weapons and magicite and magitech armor from Final Fantasy VII and previous Final Fantasies, such as all the way back to Final Fantasy VI. Going back to Final Fantasy III, we have Jenova and Seymour. They're collecting all these type of monsters, fiends, demons from all these worlds past and saturating the now empty True Moon in order to carry out strikes against Gaia again in this future planet, or this future time along the same planet, in which they create the Lunar Cry. And this is when demons or monsters or fiends descend from the moon and strike the planet. And so for now, this timeline finishes off with Final Fantasy VIII. It would be interesting to see what direction the next Final Fantasy game will go. Thank you for watching. Please leave comments below. Give me your thoughts on your connections and how you think the games flow into one another. If you would order the games differently and why so, I would love to open up discussions. Also, please share my videos to all your Final Fantasy Fantic friends. Like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, in Part 6, the Final Fantasy Timeline Theory, the Summary, in which I will give an overview of how I flowed one game to the next with less spoilers and less of a story format and more visuals for your enjoyment, of course more music, and my lovely voice. So I'll catch you next time and check out that video. Bye!